Thank you for joining us today for the Virtual Industry Forum for the I-75 Commercial Vehicle Lanes project. This pre-recorded presentation, along with the list of registered viewers, will be made available on the P3 page of Georgia DOT's website in the next 24 hours. Now, I'd like to welcome Commissioner McMurray to get us started.
Thank you for joining today. I'm Russell McMurray, the Commissioner of the Georgia Department of Transportation. Thank you for attending the I-75 Commercial Vehicle Lanes Industry Forum. We believe this project is the first in the nation that's focused on freight mobility by providing non-tolled, dedicated commercial vehicle lanes that will certainly position Georgia very well in our economic competitiveness, both nationally and globally. This project will provide safety improvements and innovation that will be transformative for both passenger vehicles and, of course, commercial vehicles along this important corridor. It is our intent to share the same information with you today as if we were in person, albeit we're doing it virtually today. Hopefully, we're nearing the end of COVID-19 and we can get back to in-person meetings very soon. I assure you that the information shared here today will be just as valuable as if you were here in person. We always greatly value your comments, feedback, and input as we move forward through the industry forum. GDOT certainly values your input all through the process, and it's critical that we have great communication even when virtual. I'm excited about our presenters today, representing both the Georgia Department of Transportation and the State Road and Tollway Authority. Again, these are non-tolled lanes. So let me go through the agenda today, or the speakers today. Today, you're going to hear from Meg Perkle, GDOT's Chief Engineer, who will provide a project overview. Next, you'll hear from Meryl Mandis, the Chief Legal Officer of the State Road and Tollway Authority, and she'll talk about the contracting structure between GDOT and the State Road and Tollway Authority. And next, you'll hear from Angela Whitworth, the Department of Transportation's Treasurer, and she'll talk about the project funding. Following Angela, you'll hear from Chip Meeks, our P3 Procurement Manager, and he'll talk about the procurement process and the timeline. And lastly, you'll hear from Daryl Van Meter, the Assistant Division Director of P3 and Innovative Delivery. Daryl will provide the necessary disclaimer as we have to do at these industry forum, and then give the closing remarks and the wrap up for the industry forum today for this great project. So thank you for your interest in this I-75 Commercial Vehicle Lane project. And without further ado, we will welcome Meg Perkle, Chief Engineer, to give us a project overview. Meg?
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you to all our viewers for watching today. The I-75 corridor is one of Georgia's officially designated freight corridors. In fact, the segment between Macon and Atlanta is the second most significant freight corridor in the entire state, as it receives freight coming up I-75 and I-475 from Florida, our state's #1 trading partner, as well as from the Port of Savannah by way of I-16. Further, the area around I-75 in Henry County has been designated as a major freight cluster by the Atlanta Regional Commission. In the past 30 years, this area has grown from 2 million square feet of distribution and warehouse centers to over 25 million square feet. The project facilitates the creation of a connected multimodal transportation network and supports the development of technologies and workforce capabilities. The project's need and purpose includes providing reliable travel times for drivers and freight operators, reducing potential crashes, and improving northbound freight movement. Preliminary traffic studies predict a substantial increase in traffic volumes on I-75 by 2028, between 90,000 and 120,000 vehicles per day, and by design year 2048, between 120,000 and 150,000 vehicles per day. We anticipate commercial vehicle volumes to increase between 25 to 30%. Once complete, the improvements and enhancements are projected to reduce delay by 12% for commercial vehicles and 6% in the general purpose lanes during peak periods. The I-75 Commercial Vehicle Lanes is a very exciting project for us as it's the first of its kind in the U.S. Our plan is to deliver toll-free and barrier-separated lanes in the northbound direction, beginning at the I-75 I-475 interchange near Macon and extending to Bethlehem Road in McDonough. The lanes will then merge into I-75 utilizing auxiliary lanes up to State Route 155. The project will extend through 5 counties: Monroe, Lamar, Butts, Spalding, and Henry. The lanes will be mandatory for commercial vehicles unless using a local exit, and general traffic will be prohibited. The project will accommodate future direct access ramps to a potential Bethlehem Road interchange and also facilitates the use of future connected and automated vehicle technologies. Here you can see some snapshots taken from the project visualization, which is available on the project website at majormobilityga.com. A link is also provided later in this presentation. These snapshots show an illustrative representation of the project. Blue indicates the commercial vehicle lane, or CVL. Yellow represents general purpose improvements, and green shows bridge work. Image 1 is north of the Pea Ridge Road bridge overpass, where CVLs would be located along the existing outside shoulder. Image 2 is south of the city of Forsyth, where the system shifts to the median for approximately 3 miles. Image 3 is a proposed merge location at Bunn Road. Image 4 is a typical alignment around interchanges. This one is at Rumble Road. The project is proposed to be delivered through a design, build, finance, operate, maintain model. I want to bring your attention to the lowercase o. At this stage, we are considering the little o to cover operational support only. The estimated design and construction cost is anticipated to be between $1.05 to $1.16 billion. The assumed design and construction period is 48 months. There has been robust stakeholder and community engagement for this project with many stakeholders, neighborhoods, and community groups over the past couple of years. Additionally, the Public Information Open House was conducted virtually last year with a public comment period. Some common questions or themes that came up during the public comment period were regarding commercial vehicle merges, first responder access, project termini, and noise barrier construction. We will continue to regularly engage with our key stakeholders throughout the project development process. This timeline shows key milestone activities related to the project. Chip Meeks will discuss the procurement schedule later in the presentation. We are currently preparing to issue the RFQ later this year. Proposals are expected to be due in Q1 of 2023, with commercial close in Q2 of 2023, and financial close and NTP1 in Q3 of 2023. The project is scheduled to reach substantial completion in 2027. This chart shows the project management team for the project, led by GDOT as the owner and key decision maker. CERTA is responsible for the contracting and payments, which Merrill Mandis will speak to a bit later. There are firms on both the PMC and GEC OVF teams who are conflicted. The full list of conflicted firms is available on the P3 page on GDOT's website. The goal is to begin the acquisition process for the state proposed right-of-way parcels in the next fiscal year as we continue to identify properties where needed. Acquisition will continue through the RFP phase with a date certain identified in the RFP documents. The project agreement will require the developer to acquire certain state proposed developer acquired parcels. For these parcels, the developer will provide right-of-way acquisition services, and the parcel payments will be made by CERTA GDOT and acquired in GDOT's name. We estimate 190 parcels for acquisition based on our current level of design. We are currently assuming 4 total displacements within the corridor. State proposed, state-acquired early acquisition right-of-way and post-NEPA acquisition strategy would target a date certain in the RFP of a Q4 calendar year 2023. Next, I'd like to talk about risk sharing. GDOT looks beyond traditional risk allocation. It may be a better value for the department to retain some risk rather than delegate it to the developer. We work off the basic philosophy that we assign risk to the entity best able to manage that risk. The philosophy is applied consistent with Georgia law, which is inherently restrictive in terms of risk items like geotechnical, utilities, etc. GDOT will actively identify and work to relocate high-risk utilities prior to completion of procurement to reduce risk to the developer. We are always trying to understand risk sharing better and want an open dialogue with our industry partners. GDOT will remain active during the developer's design and construction periods and will help facilitate and resolve issues with utility providers, companies, as they arise to reduce risk to the developer. The DBE goal for this project has been set at 12% of the design and construction cost. DBE coordination is already well underway, and with the transition to virtual meetings over the past year, the MMIP DBE team has responded well, shifting their in-person workshops and boot camps to a virtual format. There are several upcoming DBE networking opportunities coming up that are listed on the right-hand side of this slide. Georgia is focused on receiving high-quality construction. This delivery model requires the developer to be responsible for quality through final design and construction. The model is different from the one we use in the DB program. The independent quality firms for both design and construction do not have to be separate firms. The developer is responsible for hiring the maintenance contractor. Now, I'd like to invite Merrill Mandis from the State Road and Tollway Authority to speak about the contracting structure that will be applied to this project.
Thank you, Meg. Again, I'm Merrill Mandis, CERTA's Chief Legal Officer, and I'd like to thank you all for watching with us today. I would like to provide you with an overview of the contractual framework for the I-75 Commercial Vehicle Lanes project. Georgia has developed a specific contracting structure for its transportation P3 projects, which define the roles and relationship for CERTA, GDOT, and the developer. Within this framework, CERTA will serve as the contracting and payment conduit for the project. To establish its role, there are 3 agreements between CERTA and GDOT. First, there is the estate for years. This agreement grants CERTA the necessary property rights in the project so that CERTA can fulfill its obligations related to the project. The second agreement is an intergovernmental agreement, also referred to as the IGA. The IGA defines the roles and responsibilities of CERTA and GDOT during all phases of the project. This document also establishes GDOT as CERTA's project manager on the project. The last agreement is the Annual Funding Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU. This document provides for the funds to flow from GDOT to CERTA for payments due to the developer during the project term, which includes both the construction and ongoing operational phases of the project. Collectively, these agreements enable CERTA to comply with its obligations, which are ultimately set forth in a binding agreement with the selected developer. We refer to this agreement as the project agreement. The project agreement sets forth the invoicing and payment terms under which CERTA will make payment to the developer, and also the performance obligations that the developer must comply with. With this structure, GDOT still remains the project owner and manages the oversight of the project utilizing GDOT's processes and procedures, as well as their project management consultant and owner verification firm. This structure has been successfully used on previous P3 projects in Georgia. I'd now like to invite GDOT's treasurer, Angela Whitworth, to speak about the project funding.
Thank you, Merrill. My name is Angela Whitworth, and I'm the treasurer here at GDOT. We will be procuring the project as a public-private partnership, or P3, under a design, build, finance, operate with a little o, maintain structure. Under the DBF OM agreement, GDOT intends to make project payments to the developer that may include payments during the construction phase and availability payments during the 35-year operations and maintenance phase. GDOT funding sources for project payments are described on the following slide. In terms of financing for the project, GDOT intends to pursue allocations of federal financing in the form of TIFIA credit assistance and private activity bonds. Any allocations of TIFIA and or PABs made available to the project will be described in the RFP and may be used by shortlisted proposers in developing their financial proposals. The use of TIFIA and PABs will be at each proposer's discretion. During the RFQ phase, GDOT will submit the application for PABS funding, following by a letter of intent to apply for TIFIA financing. Ultimately, each proposer will be responsible for securing committed financing in an amount sufficient to fund the design and construction costs of the project, regardless of whether TIFIA and PABS allocations are made available. All sources of financing included in a proposer's plan of finance, including both debt and equity, must be fully committed at bid as required under the RFP. As previously mentioned, GDOT plans to make payments to the developer during both the construction phase and operation and maintenance phase of the project. Payments to the developer during the construction phase may be taking the form of milestone payments and/or progress payments. These payments may be tied to the completion of 3 project segments: north, middle, and south segments. Note that the size, timing, and form of payments during the construction phase are subject to change as the procurement develops. We would like to solicit feedback on the structuring of payments during the construction phase to ensure efficient financing and to incentivize timely delivery of the project. Availability payments will be paid to the developer following substantial completion of all 3 segments of the project. Details of the payment mechanism, including potential deductions for developer non-performance, will be described in the RFP. GDOT intends to fund the project from 2 primary sources: federal transportation funds and state motor fuel tax revenues. Both federal and state funding will be programmed in GDOT's State Transportation Plan and Statewide Strategic Transportation Plan and the Regional Transportation Plan. I will now hand off to Chip Meeks to talk more about the project's procurement.
Thank you, Angela. I'm Chip Meeks. I'm the P3 Program Procurement Manager. Today, I'm going to provide you an overview of the procurement process for the I-75 CVL project. I will also review the schedule for this project, and I will provide an overview of the submittals GDOT will expect from the teams. First, let's take a high look at the procurement process. Not every step is listed here. There are many activities that occur with each step along the way. The first phase of the procurement process is the request for qualifications. GDOT will issue the RFQ. Interested teams will submit their statements of qualification. Then GDOT will evaluate the SOQs against the requirements listed in the RFQ. GDOT will develop and issue a short list of the most qualified teams based on the evaluations. The second phase of the procurement is the request for proposal process. GDOT will issue a draft RFP to the shortlisted teams. There will be a written questions and response time along with one-on-one meetings with each proposer. This process allows GDOT to clarify and refine the RFP. After a series of meetings, GDOT will then issue the final RFP, and the proposers will prepare and submit a 2-part proposal for evaluation. After a thorough evaluation process, GDOT will select a best value proposal. And I will go over the RFQ and RFP submittals in more details in just a minute. Now let's take a look at the schedule. As you see on this slide, GDOT has already issued the Notice of Intent to Advertise. The industry forum occurs today, June the 1st, and over the next couple of days, GDOT will engage in one-on-one meetings with the industry and gain insight and feedback. GDOT then intends to issue the RFQ on the Georgia Procurement Registry in August. And as a side note, if you register with the GPR, you should receive an email notification when the RFQ is advertised. Please note that the restriction on communication begins at this time. The proper communications protocol will be laid out in the RFQ. The bottom line is that no individual or ex parte discussions are allowed from this point forward. Statements of qualifications will be due in November, and the short list of most qualified proposers should be announced in the first quarter of 2022, and the first draft of the RFP will be issued to just those teams. GDOT will follow its RFP process with the proposals being due in the first quarter of 2023, with the selection of the best value proposer also in the first quarter of 2023. And of course, these dates are subject to change. GDOT anticipates shortlisting 3 to 5 firms based upon the highest score in accordance with the criteria in the RFQ. So now let's take a look at those requirements. The technical submittals will consist of the following components: the DBFOM project team technical qualifications, technical experience and capability, past performance and requirements, which are very important to the technical submittal. GDOT will undertake a rigorous but fair evaluation of past performance and utilize this evaluation in the scoring of the SOQs. GDOT will ask for two types of references. The first will be nominated projects. This will be the proposer's choice of a set number of projects to put forward that match the requirements in the RFQ. The second type are disclosed projects. This will be a list of all projects from the proposer that reach a certain threshold. GDOT will sort these projects and seek past performance verification from the project owners. Both types of references will be utilized to help GDOT determine the most highly qualified teams. The technical requirements may also include a project development approach. The financial evaluation criteria will focus first on the team's financial capacity. This will focus on the team's financial strength and ability to secure financing for a project of this scale. Second, on the team's financing experience. The evaluation will be based on the team's demonstrated experience in structuring and securing financing on projects of similar scope and complexity. And third, GDOT will assess the team's ability to provide the required performance security package for this project. GDOT will issue the RFP to the shortlisted proposers only via eBuilder, which is a secure website that will require an account, and it is also password protected. Finally, let's look at the requirements of the RFP and what the proposers can expect to submit in their two-part proposal. First, the technical proposal will probably include various project management plans, may consist of scheduling and phasing plan, a project development plan, and a risk management plan. Also, a design-build technical solution with ATCs will be expected, along with a construction sequencing and traffic management information, and a right-of-way acquisition approach. The financial proposal requirements may include a price proposal and financial model, committed financing and a financing plan, updated financial capacity information, including an update of the information that was submitted in the SOQ, along with the proposal security. Lastly, the financial proposal may be subject to a validity period. We understand that the financing commitments cannot be held indefinitely, and we will work with you on that issue during the RFP phase. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Daryl Van Meter.
Thank you, Chip. Good morning. I'm Daryl Van Meter, the Assistant P3 Division Director and Innovative Delivery Administrator at GDOT. I'd like to thank you for joining us today to learn more about the I-75 Commercial Vehicle Lanes project. We are, once again, very excited to proceed to the next phase to bring this project to reality using this delivery method. The P3 Division, in collaboration with the whole agency at GDOT and in partnership with the State Road and Tollway Authority, takes great pride in launching this procurement. As a recap, today's presentation included details about the anticipated scope, the anticipated procurement process, and some insight into our view of important risks and opportunities. We are pleased we can share with you our vision in advance of the solicitation documents. But it doesn't stop there. We look forward to engaging with you as key industry partners in this process to achieve this vision. As with any initial offering, the material provided in this presentation should be considered informational only and is, of course, subject to change. It is our sincere goal that you will find great value in what you've seen and heard here today. We will be holding one-on-one meetings from June 1 through June 3. However, if you have any questions going forward, you may contact Chip Meeks, the P3 Procurement Manager, through the email address listed on this slide. More procurement resources are available on GDOT's P3 webpage. You can also view the project visualization at this link. For your convenience, a link to the Georgia Procurement Registry is listed for you to view the actual notice of intent to advertise. A recording of this meeting, along with the registration form that includes a list of all the registered attendees, will be posted to the P3 page listed on this slide following the meeting. Again, thank you for joining us, and we hope you have a great day.